Okay, and here we go into round 4, the final round of the 28mm competition at PAW in Plymouth, in not quite in Cornwall, but this is the flag that I happen to have, so there you go. So let's have a look at how the two armies lined up in this particular last battle. Let's crack on with it. And here we've got my army here, the Alexandrian Macedonian. You've seen it 3 times before already. You kind of know the drill. And facing it, opposite it, is a Ptolemaic army, which in these rules means a lot of pikemen of mixed quality, very mixed quality. They're all slapped there in the middle. There's some imitation legions, there's some more pikemen. I think that's the poorer quality ones. These are the good quality ones. The really good ones are here in the centre. We'll see a bit more of those later. A few more of these sort of legionary spearmen types, possibly a few Spanish. And then over here, a pretty decent cavalry wing as well. In fact, more than a decent cavalry wing. I'm not quite sure they're quite as good quality as the companions who are lurking just off screen here over on the left-hand side. And really, we've got a bit of clutter on both sides of the table that narrow it down. Some big fields here. Nobody particularly wants to be in that by the looks of it. Looks like the Spanish are just going to pop into it and lurk around. And there's just going to be a nice, proper, good old school straight up battle. And that's something that I'm pretty happy about taking on as well. I've got 4 pikemen to the Ptolemaic 6. But I've got 3 Thracians, which are great against pikemen, pretty solid against these sort of imitation legionary types. I've got the elephant, which is very, very good as well. And then I do start to peter out a little bit in terms of matching them up. So it's really what can I do to hold off this big cavalry wing with my slightly better quality stuff. And really, how do I guess, avoid getting chewed up by the really good quality pikemen in the centre. So let's see how the game develops. As always, a bit of a skirmish screen rushes forwards. These Victrix light horse steaming up, a couple of javelin men slingers just pushing out to well, partly slow down, but obviously clearly not. This very, very solid linear advance of these really nicely painted Ptolemaic troops. And so here's the army, actually. Here's the army in a bit more detail looking at. So yes, heavy cavalry impact on that side. You've got 4 impact. Clearly at some point someone was fiddling with the list and had some of them as better quality, but they've all ended up ordinary. 2 elite bog standard heavy cavalry Galician horse, I guess a bit like some of the Galatians as well that other successor states get, and a couple of light horse, but that just gives you a big old slab of 6 cavalry, which will be wider than most things it comes up against. Straight down the middle, an unreliable general who's already started, so he's fine, not like the last one with 6 pikemen, 2 of which are elite. He's obviously included in the elite pikemen. And then on this side you've got 3 imitation legions who are not elite, don't have armor, 2 Thracians, maybe they're Thracians over there and not Spanish, and light infantry bow, and then the crap pikemen as well. So nice solid army, sort of similar to mine, but a different mix of more, it feels like more, but cheaper, but really light on the skirmishers. There's only 1 light infantry bowman there, a couple of light cavalry javelin, nothing really to protect those pikemen from harassing fire. So here we go. I guess this is part of my tactics. Send these guys forwards, ping, 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 just see if we can do any tiddly little bits of damage there to really tip the balance before they get into combat. And there, as you see, there's no skirmishers coming out here from the Ptolemaic army to protect them. The cavalry there, light horse, are pushing forward. Still, my companions have not had a shot or not been in shot, but my companion on this end of the line, because I do have a slight split in my cavalry force, is here really to threaten these medium infantry should they come out past the terrain, which looks like they're potentially doing. So he sort of acts as a bit of a break on this end of the line, overlapping me, and the rest of my line is kind of squeezed up together, ready for a straight fight in the middle, and we'll see what happens with these cavalry on this side. So what's happening now? Yeah, looks like my army has actually drifted over to the left, and I'm trying to avoid fighting this included elite general pikeman. What that's meant is I've got Thracians, elephant, and looks like my elite spearmen have got into pikemen at this end of the line. These cavalry have evaded away. They must just be the Galician ones, the heavy cavalry. They didn't fancy fighting pikemen and an elite general companion. They've drifted back. That's allowed me to get my pikeman and the other companion into a couple of the horse here. But clearly I must be running out of stuff over on this side. We know there's 3 or 4 impact cavalry there, and I've got a pikeman, an impact cavalry, I've got a bog standard normal cavalry, and then it's light horse. So I'm a bit outrun on that flank. And yeah, this is looking at it from above. What's happened here is impact. My cavalry have taken a hit there. There's an overlap. It looks like I'm just trying to delay things really here. But two pikemen going straight in. Actually, you could print that out and use it as a top-down model, couldn't you? That's pretty cute. Have done some serious damage to these impact cavalry, even charging into them. And then these guys running away leaves an opportunity for this man to charge a little bit further than the pikeman. It means he is a threat to go into the flank of these cavalry. And unfortunately, it looks like my Thracians have come off the worst here. My spearmen have come off the worst here, but the elephant has done some pretty serious damage to that phalanx in the middle. And yeah, that you sort of expect with the overlap, but it's really about, can I punch through here? Can I punch through here? And these guys then will be a bit worried about coming back. And looking at this over this side, yeah, their cavalry have just chased away my light horse, and my normal cavalryman is sat up a hill facing off their couple of light horse as well. So again, I've suddenly got cavalry around the back of my army, which is not ideal. I'm going to have to do something about that quite quickly indeed, and wonder what that'll be. There's all sorts of options. And let's have a look. And here it is. Here's the elite general leading his pikemen. He appears to have something very strange on his head. Look at that. That's quite a thing, isn't it? And actually liking the way these shield transfers have been painted up to the edge. That's maybe something I might do. This guy, hand on hips, he's hectoring the general, probably for his choice of headgear. It's kind of weird. I think that is a Ptolemy special. That is a historic thing, I'm told, and some lovely banners and stuff like that. But the lovely thing about them at the moment is the best troops in the enemy army are not fighting anyone. And over here on the other side, we just slammed in. My pikemen again have drifted wider here. That gap in the middle of my army must have got pretty big. So pikemen into the imitation legionaries. My javelin men, unfortunately, are being forced to take on a mediocre pike block, which is probably not what they really want to be doing in life. My normal spearmen are going in at hopefully it may well be Thracians. That's not ideal, but it's allowed my cavalry to come in and put some pressure on them as well. So there's some less than ideal matchups here, but there is still some risk to the enemy. But it's really getting the pikemen in, trying to avoid that big pike machine in the middle, because it's going to, if he's got no opponents, it can push forward, but it does struggle to turn out onto the flank. So here's the top-down view. So yes, clearly I've lost that spearman by now, the elite one, and these pikemen and this whole line has actually stepped forward, and we're getting involved in a pretty serious scrum here. Only a couple of hits on the Ptolemaic infantry. I've taken 2 hits on those Thracians, 2 hits on these pikemen. These spearmen have taken a hit against the Thracians as well, but this cavalryman is really stopping them coming out here. So pretty desperate struggle. First round definitely to the Ptolemaics, I think, on that front. But again, a red marker over there looks potentially quite significant. We'll have to see how that pans out. So suddenly here, looks like they're still driving off the cavalry, and the pikeman and the companion, they've all had a great result against the enemy lancer cavalry, so blowing them all away, just chasing away these Galicians. The elephant has now gone through, boom, he has to pursue, he has to follow up, and suddenly that leaves this guy rather isolated. Even though the Thracians are injured, they've got to fancy their chances now with all these overlaps, and the question is, will these pikemen be able to do much about it, or are they just too busy looking forwards, not and struggling to turn really to do too much about the elephant? But I've successfully driven away the cavalry here, but clearly there's some more cavalry action happening this side. Over on the other side, looks like my pikemen have knocked a hole in the imitation legions here. The javelin men are struggling. These guys are struggling with 2 hits. They're still struggling with 2 hits, but they're slightly pulling one back. So this is a real, again, desperate struggle, close quarters fighting, very little in it, and it will go swings and roundabouts. But I've got, this unit teetering on the edge of defeat, this unit doing very well to hold up against pikemen here. And over on this side, you saw these cavalry who'd raced forward before, past my line, but my light horse have come back and pinned them. They're uphill, a bit tricky for them to go. My cavalry have driven off the enemy light horse here. I think there's possibly an argument they should have stood and took it, because that's freed up my cavalry to threaten the flanks of this lot. And that companion who'd driven off the 2 Galician heavy cavalry has now swung back out and is threatening to overwhelm these guys as well. So destroying their opponents creates a lot of free force in this part of the table. And let's see what's happening here. The javelin man was taking a pasting. He's broken off. He can do that. He moves faster. than these troops, so he's able to drop back. I clearly lost someone here, probably a spearman or a Thracian. I'm having to cover that with light horse, but further over here there's still the threat of the companion. My phalanx is still chugging away, but finally the phalanx, the Ptolemaic phalanx, has managed to slam into the flank of my Thracians. They're gone. That's a real big problem for these pikemen, even though they've knocked a hole in their opponents. So this whole melee, this whole scrum is starting to turn around and possibly face this way across the table rather than this way across the table. So what's going on here? Looks like there's just been a lot of explosions and death. This must be taken from the other side of the table. I must have rushed around to see what's happening. Oh no, in fact, no, it's the elephant has turned. The Thracians have turned as well into the commander-in-chief. And as we say, the centre of the Ptolemaic army is pushed out, and they started to turn outwards, and my armies had to turn inwards to try and deal with them. These sets of pikemen look like they've been chasing these cavalry further and further away. They're a little bit out of the battle now, having destroyed the people that they were facing. And yet this is the centre of the Ptolemaic army pushing out in two directions, and my army kind of realigning to try and face it. So again, what's happening here? These cavalry just really don't fancy their chances. They're being shot at by the Cretan archer. They're being chased by some of the best pikemen in the Macedonian army, and they don't really want to stand for it. They're running back to their fire temple. Over here, looks like the enemy sort of pseudo companions have thought they'll go in up against the hill. I've stood here with my light horse javelin, who are now gone, but that's allowed time for these companions to hit these guys in the flank, and that should be pretty devastating. The other one is just off ganging up, chasing light horse off the table here. So this whole solid cavalry wing, because it's done a few evades, has ended up broken up and outwitted by the faster moving Alexandrians. Here on the other side, that Thracian unit clearly being hit in the flank by the pikemen hasn't done it any good. It's left a very big hole. That may well have happened in my turn. They may have survived or something, because I've not been slammed in the flank yet. But my pikemen have punched a hole too. So, but they're looking very surrounded now at the moment. This is starting to look pretty problematic here in this slugfest. And here we go. The general is still fighting against these Thracians, these injured Thracians, but it looks like the Thracians have pulled one back. They've done some damage on the general. My elephant is in dire straits, fighting against an injured pike block in the centre that's pushed out. But this is really, these pikemen should really be pushing my army over the line, but these two guys are fighting valiantly, carrying on. And again, over on the other side, as we see, yeah, boom. This is probably, well, this is the end for my pike, no doubt at all. The munching machine pushing out from the centre is just chewing them up, and I've had to really fall back. Even my companions are struggling against Thracians in the open. This is just not going particularly well at all at this point in time. And so let's see, and we've still got this Thracian fighting away. The elephant's clearly been killed. That's me trying to squeeze into the centre. That's really not working. These guys are just struggling to finish off this remarkably resilient Thracian, who the general now is taken to personally encouraging and leading. So again, my stuff is just now sort of trying to, stop these guys doing too much. It looks like I've recovered a wound there. The companions have been rallied by the action of the general. So we're just worried about these guys pushing forwards, but this pike block looks like it's lost. Over here, my cavalry have now surrounded and are sort of finishing off the slightly lower quality Ptolemaic cavalry here and just chasing them off the table. But it's a lot of resources, 3 cavalry units now just chasing light horse. And given there's a couple of cavalry there, this one's still alive. There's probably still only, two or three of the enemy companions have gone here. It's not huge losses. But the pikemen still chasing these cavalry off table, and my infantry making a run for the baggage camp as well, if they can make it. And again, look at this, it's a miracle. The injured Thracian unit has, by God knows how, managed to take down the elite embedded general pike phalanx, and still is carrying that one wound that it's had for ages. The rest of my pikemen are coming up to face this other bit, and suddenly there's a big hole here. And there's a big loss of command and control, and there's a big loss of points, and this pike block suddenly looks like it's in real trouble. But so much carnage, so many units have been fighting toe to toe for so long that the battlefield suddenly starts to look very sparse. And here you go. Here's the top level overview. you can see where that's once solid pipe block has sort of started to push out, here. But in that process, those 6 pikemen or 5 or 6 pikemen have been nibbled down to 3. All the enemy cavalry have been chewed up here. These guys are nearly pushed off table. These guys are nearly in the baggage. My phalanx is still bizarrely hanging on with a couple of hits. Maybe it's rallied some. I've lost my companion over here. There's very, very little left apart from these little groups of skirmishers. But again, some pretty big holes in the Ptolemaic army, which is a smidge smaller than mine as well. And bizarrely, that was it. That seems to have pushed the Ptolemaics over the line. The loss of the cavalry being particularly significant. Probably four units of cavalry gone there, plus 1 or 2 maybe thrown off table. That's probably 8, 10. The generals another 3, 13. Another couple of phalanxes up to 17, and then a whole sort of series of these little hits that's just pushed them over the line slightly before me. And that is, my pasty-loving friends, the end of the weekend's reports. And here you see the final standings from Plymouth. Thank you very much to the Plymouth boys for accommodating us, and a very credible first outing, ending up 5th for the Alexandrian Macedonians with 2 wins, 1 mutual destruction and 1 defeat, and the highest sum of opponents' scores in the whole competition. So what a great weekend.
Hello and welcome to the latest Madaxeman.com Army List ADLG podcast, in which I'm joined by